Live from Las Vegas, it's the Richard Kall Show. Nothing but the truth. And now, here's your host, Richard Kall.
Hi, everybody. This is Richard Kall. You know, I've been talking about having my own show for the last couple of years, and I have to tell you right now, am I a little bit nervous? Yeah. I got things in my ears, I got things on my side, I got things all over, I got lights all over here, don't know where to look, but I'm happy to be able to do something that I've wanted to do for the last couple of years. Sitting next to me here, a dear friend of mine, Hal Culbertson. Together, we have 80 years experience in the industry of multi-level marketing. I like to call it multi-level marketing. Some people call it this marketing, that marketing, whatever you want to call it. They call it now, it's internet marketing, but I like to call it the old MLM marketing, belly to belly. And there are going to be other things I'm going to be talking about also. Being a person that's really not into politics, I've become very, very political lately, and I'm going to have a part of the show that's going to be my rants at the end of the week, about it. But now talking about multi-level marketing and talking to my dear friend Hal, and we go back a long time. I've done meetings all over the country, all over the world. Hal, what would you like to say?
Well, first of all, Richard, hey, thank you for inviting me here to your first show. Man, it's an honor to be back with you.
Well, I really didn't invite you. You happened to be in town.
I was in town. That's right. I was in town for a convention, and I love Vegas. And just thinking back, you and I have been on planes all over the country and half the world. And when you look back over our 40 years, hey, the friends we made, the people, the lives we've changed, just the travel. We've been to many countries. Our families have traveled. You and I have probably done more as two guys to educate people, edutain them. I like the word edutain, E-D-U-T-A-I-N, because you've been a great educator. You've taught people the mechanics of this business, but with your background in entertainment, most people don't know this, but you had a band when you were in the military. You can sing every James Brown song, Otis Redding, or any of the old standbys, but you're a great entertainer. And people, this business, not only do you need to educate them, but Richard, you got the ability to make people have fun and know that there's freedom. If you really build this business like you've taught them and I've taught them, people can be free. They can be free to live their dreams, travel where they want, go where they want. So I think you're the ultimate freedom fighter. These politicians in Washington, hey, we freed more people than all of them put together.
Absolutely, no question about it. Hal, let me ask you about the business of multi-level marketing. What changes have you seen in it?
Holy moly. Well, it's gone. When you go back to when you and I first started, this was a belly-to-belly business. You sat down across a table in a coffee shop or someone's home, and you give a presentation. You might have done it on a napkin. You might have, we didn't have all this high-tech stuff that they have today. But we realized, both of us knew we were in a people business. So we knew how to relate to people. We knew their families. We knew their dogs' names.
That's right.
We got into the, really touching people's hearts.
Right.
Today, it's so much more high tech. Everybody's got to have the latest technology. They want to get the glitziest presentation they can make, and they almost go right by people's heads, because you got to talk to the heart, not the head. Everybody's got a heart, Richard. Right. Not everybody's got a head. And so, there's an old saying in this business that, facts tell and stories sell. And you, my friend, are the ultimate storyteller. You have told stories in your meetings, and I mean, they would bring tears to a glass eye, because you could make people laugh one minute and cry the next.
Right.
And that's an art, and you've had it.
And that's from, like I've always said, my whole life, I have nothing up here, and of course a lot of people would disagree with me, but everything I've done is from here, from the heart. Everything my whole life. And I really try to get into someone's heart, to get into someone to listen. Anybody I've ever sponsored into this industry, if I haven't spent 3 to 5 hours with them, I haven't spent a minute. because it's important to me that someone that comes into this industry, and you cannot get the same feeling through the internet. You cannot get the same feeling through Skype. To me, and I don't understand why people have a problem today meeting people. You know, we have 5 puppies, and you know the way I feel about my puppies. And I've once said that, and I mean it. You want to find people? Go out and get yourself a nice, cute puppy. Go shopping. Go do all the things you normally do. Go to the car wash. You will be stopped 100 times. Is that not a way to meet people?
Oh, that's a fact. It
Am
works.
I right?
Yeah, it works.
Right? You're still very, very active. You just received an award for the top of your company. How did you build? Did you build through the internet, or do you still build belly to belly?
I still build it the old. If people call me old school, I say bring it on. It's a compliment. Now, I do have 5,000 people on Facebook and 50,000 on Twitter. Hey, don't even care. I still, it's a relationship business. Just like you said a while ago, it's business is a relationship business. I have great relationships with people all over the world, like you and I. We might go a year and not see each other, and we get back together, it's like brothers. We can go out to eat, laugh about old times. So I'll tell you, this little phone right here is both a blessing and a curse to people.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
We can go out
100%.
to eat, Richard, like we did a year or so ago here. Great restaurant. And there was a family sitting right across from us. You may or may not remember. The kids were on their cell phone.
I remember. I know exactly.
I
what
wanted
you're
to take
talking
those cell phones and throw them out of the restaurant. Mom's over on the cell phone with somebody, dad, and they're not even interacting with each other.
Right.
And this is a family. Well, just take that to network marketers. They all think, oh, I'm going to recruit somebody in the city. I'm going to get their names off of some list. I love it how people get ripped off on all these lists. Right. The same company will sell a list to you, me, and 1,000 other people. Oh, these are hot leads. Give me a break. People waste all this money on these hot leads, and then they sponsor somebody in another state. No relationship. That person's on to the next hot company or the next thing.
I want to ask you a very, very, very important question. Look, without bragging, we've both had hundreds of thousands of people in our organizations, all right? I have never, me personally, have never sponsored anyone that I would consider cold, because I didn't have the guts back then to walk up to you, hey, you seem like a nice guy. I have a business, I'm expanding in this area. That, to me, always, it sounds phony to me. That part of the business sounds phony, all right? Today I know there isn't, and you too, I didn't get into the industry to make friends. I got into the industry to do better for myself, for my family, all right? And I always follow that up by saying today, there isn't a state in the United States, or probably 40 to 60 countries that I couldn't walk into, make a phone call, and be invited to someone's house. That I would bet my life on, all right? So how does someone like me build such a big organization that really doesn't, I always thought, I don't know anything. You want to find out? Ask Hal, ask Jerry, ask this one, ask that one. How did someone like me, knowing nothing about the product, but taking the product, how did someone like me build such huge organizations? What was it that I'm asking you seriously, not that I want to hear, but how? Because you know me better than I think I know myself.
Well, Richard, that's a good question, and I think I've got a good answer for you. I've personally created 77 millionaires, first level of people that I brought in, and thousands, just like you have, down line. I mean, we've created millionaires we've never met that came in through people, because you know people who know people who know people, and that's how this business grows exponentially and geometrically, and all of a sudden somebody down on the 20th or 30th level that we've never heard of gets in it and rocks it. So what happens is you're a born leader. People, when they see you on stage, you got this innate ability we talked about a while ago, to reach people's hearts. You reach their hearts and their souls on almost a cellular level. Because when you tell your stories about how you was in insurance, Long Island, New York, I remember the first meeting we were ever together at your home on Long Island. We did a home meeting.
A
lot of years ago. And we went down, I think you had some of your musical instruments in the basement, just like you got them here now.
Right.
And you entertained them. But what you were able to do, you were able to get inside and get them dreaming again.
Right.
You know how to make people dream. And if we had to, we'd put them in the car and take them down to the local remember one of the old Cadillacs?
Oh,
Back
sure.
when we first started, they were about a city block, looked like a hearse.
Right.
I mean, we'd take people and put them in a Cadillac, Ferrari, anything else. I would take them through a nice area, Long Island or somewhere, and show them the homes like right here in this neighborhood in Las Vegas.
Right.
You know, you got a gorgeous home. One of your neighbors happens to own the Venetian Hotel.
Right.
I mean, you know, you are in a beautiful neighborhood. You take people that's never dreamed big and ride them around somewhere like this, and all of a sudden, their brains can never go back to that small thinking.
Right.
So you've been able to make people think big. Remember when we used to tell everyone, Richard, you need to read Think and Grow Rich.
Right.
You need to read The
How to
Magic
Win
of Thinking
Friends.
Big, How to Win Friends and
How to
Influence
Influence
people.
People.
So we taught people to get out of that mindset of being limited. And we taught them how you can be unlimited if you just do what we do. And because you and I came from humble backgrounds, and I always appreciate that about you. Hey, you came from humble background, but I mean, you knew once you got in this business, you had found your niche. And you are in the top 1/10 of 1% of all the networkers I've ever met.
Thank you.
I'm telling you, man, when people get around people like you, there's an old saying, a rising tide lifts all ships. You are the rising tide. Everybody in that room, hey, if we can just be a little bit more like Richard, and all of a sudden they would bring guests out, and those guests would hear you, and you again, you touch their hearts, man. You got inside their heads and their hearts. So,
You know, people will say like, well, they've made it. They never had any problems. I was at your home probably about 30 years ago. Do you remember? We were having dinner, and I received a check. It was for $75,000. It wasn't signed, and I remember my wife saying to me, you know, they didn't sign the check because the owner we picked up at the airport, then took him to another airport and had dinner with him. So I said, well, what do you think? He's fooling around? Your check's no good? Just send it back. And I happened to be at your house when she said, I deposited the check. It was good. And then I said, do me a favor, please, write a $10,000 check. It was freezing out. It was the month of February. It was ice cold out. I said, please just go to the bank and write a $10,000 check. And then she called back, and I remember your wife said, oh, and put me on the phone, and the check bounced. And then I flew all the way out to Laguna Beach, where the
Right.
bank was. I'll never forget that. So yeah, plenty of problems we both had. Everything didn't work out our
Right.
way. Many companies that we joined, they either went under because they were undercapitalized or because it was planned that way or whatever. But there was one thing I always remembered, because when I first got into the industry in '78, and I happened to be with Amway, and my wife and I went on a 28-day tour and met all the upline. I never saw a lifestyle like that. It wasn't the money that impressed me, it was their lifestyle.
Right.
They were working out of a home, and in 1978, if you worked out of your home, you were considered successful. Working out of a home, all right? And I came from a house of 3,200 square feet, which was good in those days in '78, on 100 by 150 size property. Now I'm walking on to 5 acres, 10 acres. I mean, homes that were 10,000 square feet, 20,000 square feet. And I know there wasn't a person on there that I couldn't measure up to. There were people there that didn't even know how to talk, and yet they're making these incomes, and I didn't understand it. I didn't understand the progression of these people getting these people, getting these people. But the one thing I always did, I never sponsored someone, and I would ask you the question now. Would you sponsor someone that said to you, listen, I'm new in this town, I don't have any friends, I don't like talking to people? What would you do with a person like that?
well, you want me to be totally candid?
Absolutely.
I got a little something. I wore a pen for 30 years that said next.
Next, that's right.
So my thing is next. I'm more interested in working with winners than trying to take someone that's got all those handicaps. Now, could they do it? Yes. Do I want to be a professional babysitter? No.
Right.
So the professionals in this business, like you and I, that have made mega millions, hey, we have something that sorts people in our brains, and we know what we're looking for.
Right.
And when we find somebody that's got the hunger, and you got to be Les Brown, a good friend of mine, he says you got to be hungry. You want
do
people
have
that
to
are
be
hungry.
hungry.
If somebody's totally satisfied where they are and they tell me they don't want nothing else, they like the house they live in, they're happy with the money they're making, they don't like traveling, they don't like doing this, next.
Right.
And I think you got to be willing to do that.
And there's two things about hungry. One is a person who's doing pretty well on his job, but he's hungry. Or the other person that's hungry that has nothing and he's in debt $20,000. Look, are there people like that have come into the industry? We've both worked with them. Have they made it? Absolutely.
Yes.
But a very small, infinite percentage of them. And it's almost that those stories shouldn't even be told.
Yeah, creates a false expectation.
It does. But have some of them made it that
Yes.
you would have bet your life on would have never made it?
Of course.
And today are multimillionaires?
Of course.
Absolutely. And I remember when Lizanne, my first wife, passed away, and I always mention this. It's part of my story. We were married 35 years. She had cancer. And I'll never forget when Lizanne and I met. We've been married 18 years now. I'll never forget when people would come to the house. She didn't understand anything about the business, and I'd be spending 2 and 3 hours with them, all right, because there was something good about them. And Lizanne would say, I knew they weren't even going to get in. Why do you spend so much time with people? Today she understands. I said, why do I spend so much time with people? Because I'm in a business of changing lives.
Right.
I'm in a business. And if I can change that person's life, I'll spend 100 hours with them. And all I got to do, let me change 2 or 3 people's lives a year. I've done my job. Because nobody, I don't care how good you are going to sponsor 10 great people a month, and next month another 10. That's a lot of baloney. I've always said, 2 people that you could sponsor, 2 people like you and I, sponsor 2. If you get a third one, God, give it to someone else. I don't even want it. And at the end of 3 years, you won't even know what to do with the money. Am I right in saying that?
You're 100% right. And that's the exact opposite of how so many of these people are being taught today in network marketing.
Exactly.
They're being taught, go on social media, go out and get dozens. And hey, if you're not sponsoring 50 or 100 people, you're not working. Ridiculous. Because the failure rate, the attrition rate, when you go out and just get masses of people in,
Right.
masses of people are going to be going out
Absolutely.
the back door. So you're right.
Do you believe when people say, I speak to 40 people a day and 50 people a day, do you believe that?
No,
No way.
they're blowing smoke.
Right. And let me ask you this question, and you're a speaker. Do you believe with all the money these people spend by going to all over the country they go, even some out of the country, to go to these seminars and spend $5,000 and $10,000, do you believe in that?
Absolutely not. Let me tell you, you go to those things and you get hyped up for the day and you got that feel-good feeling for the day. 2 days later, that feel-good feeling's gone, and probably the person that did that seminar has told you, hey, I got another seminar. You can pay a few $1,000s more for and come to 3 months from now or 6 months, and we're going to tell you the secrets you didn't get in this one.
Is there any secrets in this business? Of course not.
No, of course not.
And you're listening to 2 people that have 80 years experience in this business, and there aren't too many people in the industry that have done what we've done. That you can bet your life on.
Richard, the secret's within. The secret's, hey, that 6 inches between, your ears, and your head, it's a mindset. Hey, if you believe in yourself, it's like a great athlete. Hey, Michael Jordan, hey, he believed in himself. He didn't even make his junior varsity basketball team.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that.
Right. And yet, arguably the greatest basketball player ever. Right. And that's happened over and over in athletics, entertainment. I mean, a lot of entertainers. Look how many entertainers. Hey, they played in little small rooms all over the world before they hit it big. But they always had that belief in themselves. I think that if there's a secret, it's you got to believe in you.
In you.
You got to totally be so that
That's
you
the
can do
biggest
anything.
secret.
That's the
biggest secret. Because if you don't believe in you, I don't care if you have the greatest mentor, you have the greatest sponsor, you have all these greatest things around you, all you're doing is following, listening to them. But if you're not applying it and believe it, to me, I've always felt my whole life, there's nothing I can't do if I put my mind to it. I've always felt that way.
Richard, you and I were both really good athletes in school, high school, college, whatever.
Right.
But I know you pitched, you played ball. Hey, I was an outfielder. I always loved sports as a wide receiver in football. I like people that's got that competitive background.
Right.
I mean, if we were playing checkers, we'd both want to win.
Absolutely.
If we were shooting marbles as a kid, we'd want to win. And today, that's one of the big differences. We talked about that a while ago, one of the things in network marketing. Even in raising kids, do you know that today every kid on a Little League team or any other team, they get a trophy?
Trophy is ridiculous.
That poor kid can't even, shouldn't even be out there.
Right.
I mean, but he's going to get a trophy. She's going to get a trophy.
And then yet the father will be out there screaming at the coach if the kid doesn't get in the game.
Right. You know who's worse than the fathers? The mothers.
The mothers.
The mamas will really get on them. But you know what? We just instill that in this generation, almost entitlement that you should. And you know, I'm not going to argue with people about that, but I just see that that's permeated every part of American society. I personally like recruiting people probably 35 and up, because when you get down, and nothing against millennials, I've got millennials on my team now, but it's the exception, the ones that will do it. And can there people do this business at 20? Absolutely.
What is the difference of millennials today? I never even heard of the word until maybe a year ago, because I'm not into it. I'm just not into television. I'm just not into a lot of things. You know, when I got into network marketing, they told me, what are you watching television for? What are you watching the news for? You're going to bed with who got raped, who got mugged, who got killed. And I stopped watching television from 1978 on. And you know, when I think about it, you look at someone like me that didn't even have patience in school. It didn't make sense to me that I was eating better than the teachers. I had a better car than the teachers. I quit school in the 10th grade. So, you know, I'm one you don't have to be a genius to do this business. You just have to be a nice person and care about people. And I never once in this business, how much money can I make? How much money am I going to make? Because I was doing well before I got into this industry. The only thing that got me into this industry was a guy that had the guts enough to say, when I was paying for a little leak in a muffler on my car, and that's another whole story, but when he said to me, as I was signing that check, are you making all the money you would like to make? And you know, I looked at him, I said, excuse me? He said, are you making all the money? I said, well, I do pretty well. At that time, he was probably making, he was a minus muffler salesman, 12 to 15,000 a year. I was probably making 60 to 75,000. But I wasn't a big shot to say, hey, who the heck are you? It happened to be a new Cadillac too. What are you asking me for? But I've always said, you could always learn from someone that you never, like, if I was in the business today and I had a child and I was shopping, you could bet your life that child would know and understand and learn how to say to someone, my mommy and daddy are in the greatest business in the world. Now, the average person may pat that child on the head and be on their way. Mm-hmm. I'd be the type of person that would say, where's your mommy and daddy? Mm-hmm. All right? But I got into this industry, my life was changed from a mechanic at a Midas muffler shop. And we had tickets that night to go see Bette Midler at Front Row Center that we had for about 3 or 4 months. Came home, was 10 to 5. My wife was cleaning the table. And I said, you're not going to understand this. We have to go hear about something that sounds too good to be true. Can we hear about it another day? Yeah, we can hear about it Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I got to. That's me. I'm an all or nothing person. That changed my life. And I'll never forget, you know, for people that say, today they don't say it as much as they did when we got it, oh, this business is beneath me. I mean, and multi-level marketing is beneath me, all right? I'll never forget that. Well, it wasn't beneath me because I met too many successful people that were in the industry that were making more money. And you know what? I got to throw this in here. In 1990 or 1992 in Florida, at a meeting with about 3,500, 4,000 people, I'm introduced this way. A big leader, again, that I sponsored into the business is holding up the Fortune 5 magazine of the 100 of the top CEOs. It was either 100 or 1,000 of the top CEOs in the United States of America, of the biggest companies in America. And as I'm walking up, and I was always embarrassed what people would say about me, but as I'm walking up, I get on the stage, we're hugging like we always do, and just before I got on the stage, he says, our next speaker, Richard Kall, earns more, and he's holding up the Fortune 5 magazine, it was a 25th year edition, earns more than 98% of the top CEOs of the largest corporations in America. And I remember when we were hugging, I said, "We're hugging." I said, "Where did you get that from?" He said, "We know about what you're earning, and it's the truth." And at that time, there wasn't a major league ball player, baseball player, hockey player, basketball player that was making the income that I was.
That's
Today
right.
it's different. Today they
Yeah.
get $250 million for just signing a contract, you know? But that, I've always felt so strong that anyone can do this business. I don't care what color they are, what religion they are, what race they are, where they come from, as long as they got that burning desire inside them that they want to change their life. They want to change for their family, all right? And today, money, what does it mean to me, Hal? Nothing more than I could write it. Well, I don't write a check now. I'm a big deal now. I could use one of these, which I never thought I'd ever use one of these. But money means that I could write a check and I don't have to sweat about it. Other than that, I live no differently than I've ever lived before. My home, my wife, my home, my puppies are the most important thing to me.
Right.
They really are.
Well, following up on what you just said, Richard, you know, anybody can do it. Race, color, creed, education, lack of it don't mean nothing. But one of the interesting things, the DSA, the Direct Sales Association, they say that 80% of the people in network marketing and multi-level marketing are women. So I always say telephone, telegraph, or tell a woman. If you want the word to spread, do you know women are better communicators than men?
No question
By the
about it.
time a girl's 3 or 4 years old, her vocabulary is like 4 or 5 times larger than a male.
Is that right? I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
4 or 5 times larger. Women just have that innate ability to talk. And so, hey, ladies, I love you. And I've always had a tremendous
Yes, you have.
respect for women.
Right.
And women have been some of my top earners in every company. I know in some of your past companies, you had women that we both know, I won't call names on this show, but
Oh.
that earned millions and
Millions,
millions and millions of dollars. And you know, they've always said that women have a glass ceiling. And they're going on about Silicon Valley now, how the Googles of the world and the Apples and all of them have not promoted women like they do men. Well, guess what? Ladies, network marketing is a great equalizer. You get into this, and you and I both know probably more millionaires being created in this industry
Absolutely.
than any other.
No question
I mean,
about it.
real estate, insurance, you name
No
it.
question about it.
And just like you said, Richard, anybody can do it if they've got that desire. And it's like hey, I got such a kick out of the World Series here a week ago. Did you notice the second baseman for the Houston Astros was 5'6", 160 pounds?
I know.
5'6", 160. MVP.
I know.
Hey, nobody
Amazing.
told him he couldn't do it at 5'6".
Amazing.
Hey, he just knocked the ball out of the park and was fantastic.
Amazing.
Don't you love that?
I love it. I
And
love
you-
stories like
Yeah,
that.
and here's that, you're from New York, the outfielder for the Yankees, Aaron Judge, he's like a giant, 6'7", 270.
I know.
Hey, this little guy hits more home runs than the big guy.
It's amazing.
Hey, you can do it in anything, sports, network, multi-level, anything.
You know, you're talking about women. I'll never forget doing a big, I'm going to do, let's see, I got a note here. 2 minutes left. Wrap it up. Okay, just want to tell one more story. All right, just one more story about a woman, one of the biggest in the industry, was at a meeting that I was doing in Florida, and the house was so packed, she was sitting up the stairs, and before the meeting I said, "Do me a favor, hold all your questions until the meeting is over." And she kept interrupting me and interrupting me. I said, "Can you do me a favor? Could you leave?" That's how much she was interrupting the whole meeting. Today, I can't even tell you how many millions she's worth. Hal, it's story after story after story. That's what we are. We're storytellers.
Storyteller. Highly paid storytellers.
High-paid storytellers. I want to thank you
My
from the
pleasure.
bottom of my heart for being here at this time.
Anytime.
All right?
For you, anytime, my friend.
Thank you, Hal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.